Okay, so today I am going to start on the third episode in this series of watching cartoons and TV shows and documenting my reactions to them because it's the first time I've ever seen any of them. This week I'm doing Toradora, the anime rom-com that a lot of people really loved, apparently. I've seen a lot of hype for this show. Like, it's one of the best anime rom-coms of all time. So we'll see. I was obviously a little disappointed in Gravity Falls, but I also really loved Star versus the Forces of Evil. So, I mean, let's just get into this one and see what's going up. I know I said, I expected the last episode to be shorter, but I think this one will be a lot shorter since we've only got one season to get through. And I'm gonna try to be much more concise. I know, I'm terrible. I ramble and I do a lot of just run on. Like, my mouth just does not quit. It's doing it right now. So I'm going to end this and get into the first episode. So let's just see what that first episode is going to look like, shall we? Okay, I know I'm back to holding it, but my tripod's in the room, so bear with me for a little bit. So that was the second episode, and I guess we're done setting up the premise of the show. I hope I don't have to do one of these at the end of every single episode, because at best, at 3 minutes per, that's 25 episodes, that's math, 70 minutes plus a wrap-up. Yeah, no, not doing that. They did a really good job of making you like these characters. I thought for just a second there that they were going to set it up that they are actually in a relationship, and then the rest of the series is about their relationship, but I think this anime is just a little too early for a plot like that. Because there are anime that do those kinds of plots, which are really, really good. Presuming they're done well. But I'm curious to see where this goes. Obviously, these two are going to fall in love. It's a rom-com. And I assume they're going to try and help each other fall for, or get with their respective crushes. And I wonder if Ryuji's crush is going to turn him down in the next episode. If there's going to be something that does that, because I know a lot of shows will do something like that. Like, one will happen and then the other will happen. Or it might be in 2 episodes. It might be on episode 5, or it might be halfway through the series. I don't know. But I am curious to see how all those different dynamics are going to play out. I know there's one more character we're missing. It's the blue-haired girl, and I'm interested in seeing what she is, because I've seen little bits and pieces, like from trailers and stuff. And I know that she's much more fake than what she appears to be, or something like that. Like, she's putting on this nice girl persona or something. So I'm interested in seeing that. And I'm just going to stop here. So I just watched the episode where they have the swim race, and Taiga saves Ryuji from drowning, and then starts screaming about he's mine. That is adorable, and I love it. And I love all these characters. They're so good. Oh my god, all these characters are so good. And I love the dynamic between Ryuji and Taiga. I wish there was more of... I do wish a little bit that they were more honest with themselves and each other, but I also get that that they're teenagers, right? Like, most teenagers are the best at being in touch with their own emotions. So, I get it. It's a really good Oh, it's so good, but I love the dynamic that they have. This sort of mutual understanding of who the other person really is. It's oh, it's so good. I love, like, that is probably my favorite part. Just the actual chemistry between these two characters. I understand now why this is one of the best like anime rom-coms out there. It's so good. And I'm sorry if the camera's shaking a bunch. I'm trying to here. Maybe that'll help. Probably not, but I love it. It is fantastic. I'm just hoping that the realization of their feelings for each other comes soon. Because I really don't want that to be at the very end of the series, or at least I don't know actually how I feel about that one. I guess I'm gonna have to watch and see, because I think my feelings on that will change. But I'm gonna keep watching now because I really want I want to see the next episode, because the summer vacation arc is about to start and I really want to know what that is. So beach episodes, here we go. Okay, so the theme, the opening just changed. I feel like that's probably a good place to chime in with something to say. The thing is, I don't know what to say about this show so far because everything has already probably been said, right? Granted, my own opinions from a different viewpoint, viewing it in a different way, reviewing it in a different way. I can definitely see why this anime is held up by so many people, why it gets such good reviews. So, like, the thing I've noticed is that Yusaka, I think that's his name. I'm reading it off of the wiki. I think that, like, the interesting part is that Yusaka isn't a terrible guy, right? And it's not that he's a bad person or that he's going to be bad for Tora. And they actually used to have feelings, like he used to have feelings for her, and now she's developed feelings for him because of that. So, and we know that it's not going to work out between them, but like it kind of does this weird thing where it kind of makes you want to root for them, right? Like it almost makes you really want for them to get together, because her feelings for him seem so genuine. And in a series like this, it's really easy for her feelings to come across as very superficial or fake. And the same for Ryuji's character, for his feelings for his crush to come across as superficial and fake. But they don't. Like, at least in Toga's case, so far, Toga's feelings for Yusaka seem very genuine, and she really genuinely wants what's best for him. And we know that she's going to fall for Ryuji by the end of the series, probably. But at the same time, like, she has real feelings for him, not the superficial kind that you see in shows like this all the time, but she will actually sacrifice for him. She will make the conscious decision to put her own feelings on the sideline to try and do what's best for him. And while there are issues with that mode of thinking in the real world and with real relationships, she's also a teenager, so you can't expect her to have all the nuances of relationships down pat. Like, it's just not reasonable, right? Kitamura is a really good character. I wouldn't say he's my favorite character. I'd say that's probably still Ryuji and or Toma. Like, them as a tag team, as friends, have a really, really good, like, sort of dynamic to each other. And also, I want to say that Toga going off on the class president, whatever the frick her name was, I can't remember, but not really important. But, like, that fight between the two where, you know, where the class president is trying to play it cool and keep her own feelings bottled up because she's in love with Kitamura. It's meant to be an emotional climax, but it's also not meant to be the sticking point of the series, right? It's not the climax of the series because we're still only like, you know, 2/3 of the way through it. And you know, the really powerful point of the series is still yet to come. I will say, like, in that regard, in punctuating those powerful moments, it is a bit more subdued than your average show. You know, than well, not the average show of this type. Actually, it's about on par with the average show of this type, in all honesty. But it's more subdued than some of the you know, the other really popular shows of this type, like Clannad or Afterstory, where the first arc for Clannad hits you like a truck with the girl that's in the coma, and then the second arc for Clannad, again, it just hits you like a frickin' truck, and it every single the climax to every arc is just this intensely powerful emotional moment. And in that show, they did a really good job of delivering those moments. And this show does a good job of delivering its moments, but they're not as powerful as those moments. Like you're not as, I don't know, like, for me, I just wasn't as heartbroken or you know, as outraged as I felt like I should have been when Toga's dad didn't show up, right? And, like, I feel like I should have been like, fully outraged. And I think that would have been better punctuated if it wasn't just, well, I mean, like, that's the thing. Does the moment have to be this intensely powerful emotional gut punch? Or is it intended to be more subdued the way it was? Because, like, that's the other big problem. Because it's sort of this creator's intent versus consumer's experience part. And when you're writing, you gotta always keep that in mind. Your intention for a specific scene, or your artistic vision for a specific scene, isn't necessarily going to be what the consumer gets when they read that scene or when they watch that scene. Okay, so for a brief second there, I thought they were legitimately going to end it with them not seeing each other again. And I was about to be, please tell me there's a second season, because I need this. I need resolution, and if I don't have it, I'm going to be pissed. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this short and brief because my throat is killing me. That was amazing. I enjoyed every minute of that entire series. It's not breaking my top 10 or really even my top 20, but it is definitely a really good series that I genuinely enjoyed start to finish. The characters are fun and dynamic. They're really really well thought out, and the way they all interact with each other feels organic and just real and genuine. I absolutely loved it. Didn't cry at the ending, which I think is a first in this series so far. So, yeah. So, I guess let's go to the wrap up. Okay, so what are my overall reactions to Toradora? I think the thing I liked most about it has got to be the characters and the way they interacted with each other. I know that seems like a very generic response, but I appreciated that more than I do in other shows, even shows that I really like, because they all felt very genuine. In a show like this, where it's two characters who have crushes on other characters and then fall in love with each other through the course of the series, usually those initial crushes that they have on the other people can feel very shallow and very fake, very superficial, and sometimes that's the point. And not to knock those kind of shows, but sometimes it's not supposed to be the point, and you can very clearly tell that they're really only there to create artificial tension. But in Toradora, it never felt like it was just artificial tension for the sake of artificial tension. You really felt like Tora really, really cared for her crush, and the same for Ryuji. And that is what kind of stuck with me throughout the series, is these didn't feel like superficial feelings. They all had genuine feelings for each other and the people that they cared about. A lot of it was very cringy teenage behavior, but I also get the feeling it was meant to be. That finale where they're like, let's elope. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You are 17. Back up just a few feet and think this through a little bit more. You can't just, holy crap. I mean, like, it also served to me like, okay, are they really going to go with that's their solution? Because that kind of scared me for a minute there. I'm not going to lie. Like, I genuinely thought that that's where the show might have gone at the end. And then it didn't, thankfully. But I just, if it had, it probably would have ruined the whole show for me. I would have been standing here saying a much different piece about whether or not this show was anything resembling good. But it didn't. And it had the characters going through something that felt like something two hyper-emotional teenagers with their perceivable world collapsing down around them might have done. And then those teenagers coming to the conclusion that there's no frickin' way this could work. And then having that, sort of child to adult moment of, we can't do this on our own. We can't do this like this. And then reaching out and asking for help, going to his grandparents for help, and then, him getting his mother back into things. And, I feel like there's a couple of things that I wish we could have seen more of. We got to see Ryuji sort of patch things up with his mother and patch things up between his mother and her parents. But one of the things I really wish we could have seen as well is Taiga patching things up with her mother, or at least getting her mother to come to some sort of understanding, or getting her to come to an understanding, Taiga standing up for herself and saying, no, this is not what I want. And then, Ryuji and maybe Ryuji's family standing behind her in, we're not going to let you push your single-minded views onto this child who obviously doesn't want what you want for her, and that's perfectly fine. So, I mean, I wish we could have seen more involving that. Instead, what we got was this sort of like off-camera, Taiga goes back home to reaffirm her life, but we never actually saw the interaction that she had with her mother when she went back home, or what is the relationship she's going to have with her new sibling, or with her stepdad. And she never got to patch things up with her dad, or she never got to bring that to a resolution. So a lot of Taiga's family plots seem to be sort of dangling and sort of like left ambiguous, unless there's a secret second season to the show that I'm not knowing about, which I probably should have looked up before I started filming this video. But you know what? Screw it. If there is a second season to Toradora, leave it in the comments, I guess. If there is a second season, I would genuinely love to watch that. So please let me know. As for what I didn't really care for in the show was a lot of it felt like it was just kind of weird. Not a whole lot of it made narrative sense sometimes. And certain aspects, especially the end, felt really rushed, which is kind of a common problem in anime. A lot of the time when the show is coming up on its last few episodes, it's generally around the time they realize that they're not going to be able to get a second season or something, or they're probably not going to get a second season. So they're kind of scrambling to tie all these lingering plot threads together, and try to create a coherent ending that everybody can reasonably enjoy. And that kind of felt like what it was. So a lot of things just kind of seem to happen all at once. And I think the most superficial part of it is Taiga and Ryuji kind of falling in love there at the end. Taiga's feelings for Ryuji felt very genuine because they seem to have time to build up. But Ryuji's feelings kind of seem to come out of nowhere, really, because he was just so obliviously dense to Taiga's feelings that whole time, like, even after she confessed to him, he didn't, like, have this sudden realization of, oh, I have feelings for her too, or even, he didn't even struggle with whether or not he had feelings for her. He just kind of suddenly had them when the plot demanded it. And that, I think, is probably the weakest part of the entire series. Because I just, I say it's the weakest part, but I still kind of just went, all right, could be done a little bit better. I would have done it, maybe this way or that way, but I kind of just went with it anyway, because I was enjoying the rest of the series. That would probably be my biggest complaint with the series on the whole, is just Ryuji's feelings kind of seemingly coming out of nowhere. So I would strongly recommend Toradora if you're a fan of rom-com animes, slice of life, club shows, that sort of thing. The characters are very genuine. The cast is extremely colorful. I think the weakest character overall is probably Ami, who has a few episodes of character development and then is just kind of nothing ever interesting is done with her again. Like, they tried, but then it was like she had feelings for Ryuji. Oh, that's another thing I didn't actually care for. Literally every female character in the show that had a name and regular screen time had a crush on Ryuji. All at once. Like, all three girls in his friend circle all had a crush on him all at the same time. And, I get it. It's anime. Protagonist gets his own harem. And, it was but it was also before, the harem trope really became a big thing. But, I didn't think that was needed, from a storytelling perspective. It didn't feel right to have all three girls have a crush on him all at the same time. Honestly, Ami's feelings for him felt pretty genuine. They came from a pretty real place. He helped her with something very personal, and that can, especially as a teenager, you can develop pretty strong feelings based on that sort of emotional connection. But his main crush also had a crush on him, but I didn't realize that until the show told me that, which is never what you want for something like this. So Like, honestly, I feel like it probably would have been better if like Tyga's crush, she had a crush on someone else. Or she just didn't have a crush on anyone. Or she actually did end up being a lesbian. Like, she actually does mention, like, I wonder if I'm a lesbian at one point in the show. And, like, the end kind of hints at her being bisexual, maybe ish. Like, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it did turn out like she was bisexual. And maybe her and Ami got together at one point. Like you didn't actually have to have them get together, but like hint that those two were getting closer. And you don't even have to say it's a romantic relationship, just like a basic friendship, right? And they kind of did in the last few minutes of the episode, but like that's not really enough to say what I'm kind of going for here. Like, it didn't amaze me like a lot of shows of that era of that type can and have in the past. So, I mean, but at the same time, it's one that I would strongly recommend to watch. It was a good show. There's a damn good reason why it is considered to be one of the best anime rom-coms of all time. Why it's one of the best anime relationships of all time. That I would probably disagree with, but I mean, Taiga is probably one of the best characters in a show like this I've seen in a really long time. Because her character is very well thought out, very well fleshed out. Like, you're never really left thinking, where did her feelings come from? They all seem very genuine, which makes it all the more mind-boggling that her family isn't the one that we wrapped things up with at the end. But at this point, I'm rambling. So, now is the point in the video where I talk about, like, subscribing and punching bells or likes and commenting, shares. Those are also important, probably the most important. I mentioned this in the last video. I did this joke already. I'm bad at ending videos, which has kind of become a running thing. So I guess in this one, I'll just say